feather, light, work, asking, answer, accepting, honoring, all we are, earth to star. Hey Audrey, I remember when I first learned muscle testing from you, and it helped me to check in with the guide inside and unearth this vast awareness that was inside myself that I had no idea was available to me until I learned how to do muscle testing. And I have been inspired since then to teach it to my kids, and I feel like I picked it up easy. It was just so natural to be able to check in with my body's inner knowing about the truth about this, about the resonance about this path being for me, about this path being non-serving. And it just feels like you have the keys to the kingdom when you know what is available to you. You know, what's true, what's the truth. And to practice that art is to get better at it, and to like be in communication with the guide inside is to first honor that presence of the divine in us, and then practice connecting with the divine in us. And it just brings so many gifts, so many blessings. So I am so excited to share with other people the subject of muscle testing and just empower people to connect with the guide inside in this way. And I would love for you to tell us about your path to learning muscle testing, and then arrive at this place where we're ready to teach the people.
Absolutely. And this is so big for me too. This didn't come into my journey, in my spiritual journey, until it was probably like 15 years in, and I've been working without this magnificent tool. And so this tool came to me when I was working with Kate Elliott, and she was working with some of Dr. Bradley Nelson's craft. So Dr. Bradley Nelson has developed a modality that I use in my practice called emotion code, body code. And so he introduced applied kinesiology through his way and his way of working. And so when we're using muscle testing, that's what we're doing. We're using applied kinesiology. We're using our body's consciousness to determine what is true for us. And a lot of chiropractors, I was actually first introduced to this. This is not when I was using it, but I was first introduced to this when I was a young girl in my late teens, receiving chiropractic care from Rose Chiropractic in Buffalo, New York. And this was how she determined dosage for homeopathic remedies. So muscle testing is the method of using applied kinesiology to use the consciousness of our body to determine whatever it is that we're asking. When I was first introduced to this was through chiropractic care, and we were trying to determine if a certain nutraceutical or vitamin was going to assist and remedy what I was dealing with. So to be able to use muscle testing in that way, we would use the resistance test. And so that would determine if I was stronger with or without the vitamin. And how we do that is you place the vitamin or nutraceutical in one hand and you test. And then you get rid of what you're questioning, and then you test. And you determine which way are you stronger. Does this vitamin support the strength in the body? So that's how I've seen it used. That's how I saw it used first. And that's how they use it in the medical industry. So most recently, when I started using muscle testing in my practice, this was introduced to me through Kate Elliott's work that came from Dr. Bradley Nelson's work of emotion code, body code. And this is a simple system of asking questions to the body's consciousness. And we are looking for generally a yes or no answer. And in this method, we use the finger test. This is the method that I originally taught Cabe and that he was able to pick up immediately, which was quite impressive, by the way.
Yeah.
You're welcome. So how do we use this? And what is this? Usually it's a yes or no question. So you want the biggest success factor is going to have to do with the question. If you're not asking the right question, it's not going to necessarily lead you to exactly what you're trying to determine. So I try to stay as clear and as yes and no as possible. And so you ask the question. So for example, we'll do the same technique that I used with Kate. Is my name Lisa? So this is a question that's not accurate. So how we do this is we have our two fingers and we create a link. And a yes answer is going to be a strong connection. It's going to be a challenge to kind of break that open. And show me a no answer. A no answer is going to come right open. Your fingers are going to open. So the strength that we're actually testing is in between, like how much we can hold the fingers together, and it'll be on both sides, as opposed to the resistance with the arm. So for example, you'll say, my name is Lisa. Is my name Lisa? That's a no. Is my name Audrey? And so the muscles lock up. So we're using applied kinesiology, or the consciousness of our body, to determine the answers.
To me, it's all about resonance and dissonance. So I actually approach it in a different way. Okay. Instead of asking a question, I make a statement. My name is John Johnson. My name is Cabe Lindsay. I'm holding my fingers, by the way, in a linking formation. I'm bringing my pointer fingers to my thumbs and then creating two circles that link. And then I'm bringing those fingers together and pulling as I make the statement. And by doing that, my body is either falling apart in a way or staying together in a way. Resonance makes it stay together. Dissonance makes it fall apart. And I've even heard that our eyesight is better when we tell the truth. Our eyesight weakens through lies. We're talking about science here. You call it applied kinesiology. I call it resonance and dissonance. So my statement starts like this. My name is John Johnson. My fingers come apart. My name is Cabe Lindsay. My fingers stay together. I'm strengthened by the truth I'm saying. I'm weakened by the lies. So that's how we gauge what's true for us at any moment regarding anything we might be curious about. I live on the planet Earth. My favorite flower is the sunflower. My fingers came apart there. I love sunflowers. My fingers stayed together. We can ask any question we choose. We can get into really serious questions regarding our health. Like Audrey says, she asks a question, I make a statement. I'm making a statement to gauge whether or not the statement is true.
I think that's a beautiful way of describing that, the resonance and dissonance. That's another way that you can ask questions. The other way you can do is as you're talking or coming up with something, and if you're going to say, is that true? Like what if you say something and you want to question yourself, wait, is that true for me? And that happens a lot when we're doing energetic medicine. We come up with an emotional link for something. Oh, such and such is picked up. Is this a pattern that I've been running for a while? And I can use muscle testing. Is that true? And you'll say yes or no. And you can kind of navigate, a lot of the ways I use this with energetic medicine is I'll be like, is there an emotion that I need to clear today? And that's a yes. And then, we can use a chart or just continued asking questions to narrow down what is, in the field that we can release. And it's a really good way for folks who are still developing their intuition, they're still developing their clairvoyance, clairaudience, to be able to tap into the knowing within inside themselves. Even those of us who are activated in our additional senses, we still like to use this as a double checker. So it's super helpful as you navigate pretty much anything. You can apply this to life.
Yeah.
I've seen Cabe use this with the kids when they're trying to decide what to eat.
Yeah, exactly. That exact topic was just exactly on my mind. My kids are ready to have dairy tonight.
Oh.
My kids are ready to have meat tonight. My kids are ready to have greens. Greens would be ideal for my kids' health tonight. My body doesn't lie. Sometimes we do have to, double check and really use our discernment to know if the message coming through is really resonant or if there's something disruptive and kind of distorted that can be interfering with the truth and the resonating factor. I've witnessed that. I've tested it a couple times to kind of trick the system and check the system to make sure it's true. And there are times when my muscle testing seems to be wrong, but I don't think it's actually wrong. I think it's just that the question I'm posing is loaded. It's loaded with weight that's interfering with the clarity coming through. And another one of the miracles of this technology is applying it toward our life situation outside of us, because it's not only what's right, what's serving us, but we can also ask the questions, what's serving the collective? Just as we proved in the example of what's ideal for my kids' health tonight, I'm kind of crafting the world around me based on the guide inside that can be serving the other people in my life too. And Audrey, being a healer, she's using this to check in with what's right for this person on their healing journey. I've seen her mentor, Kate Elliott, do the same thing. She's checking in. She's gauging what's true and right, not only for her, but for us.
Yeah, and when I do this for other people, a lot of time it depends on how I'm asking the question is where the information is coming from. Essentially the same place, right? It's all a level of consciousness. But if I'm going to ask, does Brenda need to clear the emotion of rejection? That's me testing and asking, which, like Cabe said, there could be other tensions involved that could distort that in some ways. However, we'll say, I'm going to muscle test for Brenda. Does Brenda need to clear the energy of rejection? And then that's sometimes a little bit, we can zone in and hone in and clear out interfering energies. So it's like the difference for me testing for Brenda and then me testing as Brenda, kind of in a lot of ways, because we're all connected through the same consciousness.
One of the reasons why I think there can be distortions in the field of muscle testing is because we might not be understanding the big picture when we're checking in about what resonates and what's dissonant. We might be crafting our questions in a way that might be self-serving or self-satisfying, but there might be a bigger picture plan that wants it to be a certain way in order for us to have the breakthrough that we've been looking for or whatever. I can trust the universal truth and the resonating factor to present its truth to me without distortion, except in instances when I'm not understanding the bigger picture. So me and my humanness might have a distorted answer sometimes. And so that's a good thing to discern. Always using our discernment, always having our groundedness so that when we use this tool, we're not overly reliant on it, but we're using our sound thoughts and our sound mind and our heart intelligence to gauge the truth in it, in addition to the muscle testing. I do think there are instances where the muscle testing can give a kind of a false answer, but it's only because I venture to say that would only happen in a distorted point of view that is asking the question in the first place. Because, for example, I might be wanting to resolve this person's cancer or resolve the cancer in us, but in the big picture plan, the ailment might be there for a reason. It might be there for my ascension. And I might just have to be in it and honor it as a rite of passage to ascend.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some things that we just can't bypass. And there's some things that, ultimately, the applied kinesiology is connected to the consciousness within our bodies. And, what's highest and best for us is generally what we're going to guide ourselves through. Our soul is creating reality for our highest and best, if of course that's our intention, but our soul is creating the experiences that we need. And sometimes we just can't get around a lesson that needs to come through.
Right. Now let's use our heart intelligence to check in about this, why this is working, why it deserves our faith. Why does this method work? I imagine it has to do with the truth that every single cell is designed with one common purpose. There's a divine design in everything, and that goal is to expand. And everything, all the building blocks that make up who we are physically are generated from the same thing, source energy, source. And that source, that creator, is the same in everything. So if we're checking in with the muscles, the strength in our physical form, the resonating factor of us voicing these words, however we're checking in with the same thing, and that's source energy. That's love. That's pure love. That's LOVE with a capital L. That's what we're checking in with. So that's why it's universally true. We can tap into the truth for everybody and everything in all of existence, because that originating factor, the source of everything that exists, is one same thing. It's the oneness.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good point. And just starting to use these tools just starts to empower us a little bit more. It starts to hone in our accuracy and starts to develop our skills in knowing. And you'll notice as you develop these skills that you might start hearing things around the questions. You might start hearing, thoughts come in, intuition come in, hunches come in, more to the story coming in. It's about that pause and allowing that information to come in, allowing our intuition to be present, and electing to use a tool to confirm that. You'll notice that in the beginning, if you're finding that you're encountering some doubt or uncertainty, my advice to you is to just take that doubt that's coming in and address it head on and say, thank you for being present. I choose a different path. I choose that I am successful in this way. I think that's the biggest hang up that my clients will have when using this method or having challenge with this method is they're just doubting themselves. So if you do come across that, you can just shift the thought and say, no, thank you. I know that this is something that my body is capable of doing, and continue to challenge yourself, continue to integrate this, continue to use this. I really like to go through my vitamins and double check those. That's something that's really good. Or double check, how often do I need to take this every day? Do I need to take this magnesium every single day? I'm getting a yes. Do I need vitamin C? Should I still be taking vitamin C? That's a yes. Is it still in my highest and best to be taking zinc every day? That's a yes for me. So then I can continue, so I'm not just over medicating myself. And sometimes we don't need to take things every single day. We just need a little bit. And that's how we can zone in on what we need, what our body needs. Our body's going to, come to bat for us and communicate that.
Absolutely. And, muscle testing in this linking finger fashion is one way to muscle test. And another way is voicing it with our words and feeling the resonance in our bodies. It'll feel like truth. It'll ring true when we speak it out loud if we feel the hum of yes. If we speak it out loud and it feels weak or it feels inauthentic, it'll crumble. It'll feel distorted. It'll feel dissonance. We'll feel that. So there are subtle ways to explore muscle testing beyond this finger method, but the finger method to me is spot on and it's substantial. It's something really clear that I can, fathom.
Yeah. And then to add to what you're saying about the voice, some people will call that light or heavy. When you're saying something, truth will always feel light and false narratives will always feel heavier and weighted. So that's one way that you can use that too, is does this feel light in my body and my being, or does this feel heavy in my body and my being? That's another way to kind of use that same voice method. There's an additional method called the sway method. This is another method of muscle testing that's used throughout the spiritual community and some of the Eastern medicine. And so it's the same kind of, applying the statement or the question, and you stand in a neutral space. And if you sway forward, it's a yes or no. And if you sway backwards, it's a yes or no. And I believe forward is yes and backward is no. But you can clarify by asking your body, show me a yes. And if you go forward or back, and then you can say, show me a no, and move from there. But I think traditionally the yes is forward and the no is back. But by standing in a neutral space, and just completely flat-footed, and you just kind of see how your body sways.
I love that starting point of show me. I think for me, being new at this, I almost need to do that in order to suspend my disbelief, in order to trust that this is real. I need to check in with my truth and my lies and make sure my muscle testing holds up. So I almost always start that way. My name is John Johnson. I'm asking it to show me what my false narrative is. And I'm asking it to show me what my true story is. And I think that swaying would be like, you approach it the same way. Show me. You're first checking in with the truth and a lie to be able to know what the truth is, what's ringing true, what's resonating. So me and my naive mind and my unpracticed mind, I'm new at muscle testing. I have a lot of curiosity about ways that it can be applied to my daily life. And I use this finger linking method to check in about my self-care regimen first and foremost. If I ever have a question of why I have a headache right now, why I'm facing insomnia, I can ask questions and potentially get to the root of the issue in order to live freely, live in abundance. This muscle testing applies to my physical health and well-being, my mental health. I can use it for my work. I can be checking in with my inner knowing about the best ways to use my energy in any day, the best ways to prioritize my tasks. So first and foremost, I'm using muscle testing to check in about myself. Check in with my inner knowing, check in with what my body is telling me, check in with what resonates down deep. And in a bigger picture, I can use it to shape the world around me too. What's the ideal situation for my home life? What do I need to do to prevent mold from growing in my air ducts? How can I create a safe haven for my kids to thrive? I can think bigger than myself too, and use this inner knowing to guide my decision making in all areas of my life. And so in my curiosity, I wonder if we can create massive love ripples with that inner knowing, with that knowledge that guides us and guards us, and apply it on a great big scale, on a grandiose scale, to create a big giant love ripple that everyone can feel across the world. And one of the ways I might do that is ask about the health and well-being of the planet Earth. I might ask about whether or not it's ethical to use single-use plastics. I can ask about what my surrounding environments need from me in order to grow and thrive and flourish. Is there something that needs to be done on my end with my earth walk, with my strength, with my mind to make the world a better place? I imagine, because I know that I can shape my environment, because I know that I can check in with my inner knowing, because I trust that I have access to all the knowing, then I can potentially make great big love ripples that affect everyone in the entire world and all of existence. Potentially. I know that's a stretch, and I feel it's true.
I think it's great. I think it's a great way to utilize our tools for the betterment of humanity. Anytime we're doing energy work or anything along these lines, especially with applied kinesiology, it's always really important that we stay hydrated. Being super hydrated is the basis of our health and wellness and the way our body functions. And so, especially with applied kinesiology, making sure we're staying hydrated is super helpful as well.
I would also say that being grounded is fundamental. You model that for me really well. Audrey tells me every single day, multiple times a day, she grounds. She centers herself in the center of the planet, centering herself to the sun and the great central sun. I think that's just sound advice. And she models it. She does that every day as part of her self-care. And she's dealing with all kinds of energy, not only in herself, but in her surroundings. Yeah. She's working to transmute energy for other people to feel well, Yeah. So she's taking on a lot there, and grounding, just like taking care through drinking water, is just fundamental.
Yeah, absolutely. If we come from this place of balance, we're more likely to continue to bring that balance through everything we do, no matter what we're doing. I even find conversating or communicating is better with hydration. I feel that everything is really great with hydration. And honestly, water has a level of consciousness that we're still exploring today. So in conclusion, muscle testing is just one of these things that it's a simple cause and effect. It's a simple reflection of a resonance. And we see this through all of spirituality. And Dr. Emoto had demonstrated this with the water experiments and how the higher frequencies created the more beautiful molecular structures of these water crystals versus the lower frequency, angry or less or more dissonant sounds. It's just this cause and effect. And so the muscles are also a representation of cause and effect with certain energies, whether they be in truth or in one frequency or not, and which is a different frequency.
Yeah, truth is resonant. Lies are dissonant. And yeah, Dr. Emoto is a great example. I'm so glad you mentioned that. The hidden message in water shows these beautiful crystal formations when the water droplets are exposed to words like love, words like trust, compared to when the water droplets are exposed to words like hate and fear. Then they fall apart. They become distorted. They're less strong. They're less resonant. They're dissonant. The crystals form in different ways. And this is a scientific study. Understanding the science of it helps me again to rationalize why muscle testing works. At first thought, it might seem absurd to ask our bodies what is real and true and right for us.
We might be asking ourselves how this is really accurate, and we might be showing up with a little skepticalism. But the reality is, it's just like the water exercises. It's cause and effect. And so when we're standing in the truth, it's a different frequency when we're standing in something that's not truth. So it's simple cause and effect that we see represented through nature and many other facets of spiritual experiment. So let's take, for example, the water experiment. The cause is saying the word love, and the effect is a beautiful crystallization of these water molecules. So the cause is the frequency that comes from love, and the effect is the shape that comes from the frequency of love spoken in word. So the same thing when we say hate. The cause is speaking the word hate, sending that frequency out there, and the effect is how it affects the water and how it looks spiky and dissonant.
So for me, as I try to wrap my head around that, an action creates a reaction. So if the action is checking in about truth, then the reaction is strength. Mm-hmm. If the action is checking in about a lie, the action is weakness.
Yeah.